Your Honor, at this time, we would like to ask for a bond to be set.
Are you waiving his appearance?
We are waiving his appearance.
All right, ma'am, could you tell me your name, please?
Deborah Smith.
And can you tell me a little bit about what you would like to see happen pending further resolution of this case?
Well, basically, I'd like to see him come home in Virginia Beach so I can have him committed to get substance abuse. He is an alcoholic. He has admitted to me he is an alcoholic. And I would like to be able to take him back to Virginia Beach and get treatment, get him treatment.
And you feel safe with me releasing him back? Is that correct?
I've never felt unsafe with him. He's been my son for 37 years. Yeah, I just want to get him home. We were supposed to go home yesterday.
For the state?
Yes, Your Honor. Based off the testimony of the victim, the state has no objection to a reasonable bond being set and the defendant being allowed to return to Virginia Beach with the condition of no hostile contact.
All right, the court will set a $500 bond, no hostile contact. Anything else I need to address before we adjourn?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we're adjourned on that case, and everybody's excused. Safe travels. Yes. Our next case is Sheena Keenan.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, bond is set at $250. However, Ms. Sheena is transient, so we would like to ask for ROR.
Thank you so much.
All right, bond will be set at, she'll be released on her own recognizance.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, sir.
All right, next case is Frederick Roberts.
He's present, Your Honor.
Counsel, would you like to be heard as to bond?
Can I have 1 second, Your Honor? Yes, Your Honor, one of the bonds is set at $1,000. We would just ask for it to be reduced to a reasonable amount.
I think the other one set at 2.
Yeah, we're only here on the FTA case, Your Honor.
Okay,
Okay.
so I've got a $2,000 bond is what I'm seeing.
Okay, so we would just like to ask for that to be reduced.
State?
We'll leave it to the court's discretion.
All right, I'll reduce it to $1,000. All right, next case is Darcy Gooden.
Yes, Your Honor, in this case, we are asking for a bond to either be set or for ROR. In this case, Mr. Gooden has been employed for around 17 years, so we're just asking for either a bond or ROR.
Anything from the state?
Yes, Your Honor. Based on the charge that he violated condition of release on, the state has no objection to a bond being set.
All right, I'll set bond at $500. All right, next case is Thomas Cardenas.
Thank you.
Bond is currently set at $500.
Your Honor, due to this just being a trespass, could we ask for ROR?
State?
The state would object to ROR, but if you would like to take a plea offer, the offer for is credit time served plus 3 days in the Orange County Jail. He was just convicted on January 8th for trespass. So I would object to an ROR, but that is the offer.
All right, well, I'm not gonna do an RR. I'm willing to entertain bond, largely because there's an active warrant out of Texas on the same sort of thing. And my general approach to this is that if you're shown you won't show up for court once, you know, I'm not gonna assume that you're going to again. As to the offer,
Your Honor, at this time, he will be accepting that plea offer.
Oh, and a no return to the Walgreens.
and, all right, I'll go ahead and, do you want me to do a full colloquy, or do you have that on paper? I come from federal court, so I'm not used to this. We'd spend 30 minutes doing a plea colloquy where
I can get it to you in paper in 2 minutes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Prosecutor, can I get the case number?
23 39 AE.
Did you say 89?
Yeah, 39.
39.
AE is in A.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
What's that?
Defense, you threw me. I've never been called Madam Prosecutor until today.
All right, Madam Clerk, please place the defendant under oath.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony shall give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yeah. State your name.
Can you state your full name, please?
Thomas Cardenas.
All right, you're very soft spoken, so if I could have you lean into the mic a little bit.
It's Thomas Cardenas.
Now, did you have an opportunity to review this document that you've given me with your attorney?
Yeah, I saw it briefly.
Okay, and you understand what she was telling you in terms of what's going on?
Yeah.
And is it your desire to enter this plea?
Hmm?
Is it your desire to enter this plea?
Oh, yeah.
And Your Honor, just for record-keeping purposes, it'll be a plea of no contest.
Okay. All right, it'll be a plea of no contest. I do find, based upon the affidavit, that there is a factual basis for the plea, and that's for time served and court costs, correct?
2 days credit time served plus 3 days in the Orange County Jail.
Plus 3 days,
So
all
it's
right.
five days total, but he already has 2 days.
All right, I'll go ahead and sentence you to 5 days, give you credit for 2 days served, and I'll also give you a year to pay back the court costs. Anything else I need to address as to that?
No, Your Honor.
All All right, next case I've got is James Dunkley.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, we just ask for a bond to be set in this case.
All right, Ms. Tyner?
Yes, Your Honor. Based off the affidavit, we'd just be asking for a reasonable bond and no contact. It does appear that the defendant and the victim live together, so we'd be asking for a one-time return as well, so that he can retrieve his items.
All right, court will set bond as to, I've just got the one count, correct?
Yes.
We'll set bond at $750, no contact with the victim, and the defendant can return once with law enforcement to gather his belongings.
That's it? Type of.
All right. This case is Jose Ferrer Sanchez. Court will appoint the public defender. I find probable cause as to
Yeah.
bond.
Yes, Your Honor, we just ask for a reasonable bond. He also does qualify for PTR, Your Honor.
All right, defendant will be released on PTR. Bond will be set at $500 for the first, for count one, $200 to count two, and $100 as to count three.
Your Honor, can you please repeat that? I'm so sorry, I've lost.
Sure. 500, 200, 100,
Let's be here.
plus PTR. And counsel, as for the state as to conditions.
Yes,
Hold
Your
on.
Honor, we'd be asking for no contact with the victim.
As to that,
No objection, Your Honor.
no contact with the victim.
Madam Clerk, may I please have a case number?
23 CF 2568.
Thank you.
Our next case is Stephen Howard.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, we'd ask for a bond to be set.
Ms. Tynan?
No objection to a reasonable bond being set. I have two cases for him. Is that correct? For Howard, Stephen?
Okay, one is a aggravated assault with a firearm, and one is burglary with dwelling. I mean, Ms. Tyner, would you have any recommendations as to what a reasonable bond might be?
For the ag assault, the state would be asking for $5,000, and for the burglary, I believe that's punishable by life. Yes, that's punishable by life, so we'd be asking for $25,000 bond.
Your Honor, we would argue that he is employed, so $25,000 might be a little difficult for him to go back to work.
All right, as to the aggravated assault, I will set bond at 5,000. As to the aggravated burglary, I'm going to set bond at 15,000. No contact with the victim of each respective case, and defendant shall not possess any firearms. And no return to the scene of burglary as well. The next case is Jorge Pagan Cordero.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, he is employed. We would ask for a reasonable bond to be set so we can go back to making some income. And he's also seeking to get treatment for mental health.
What's the state?
Yes, Your Honor, the state would be asking for $2,500 bonds on each charge, and no contact with the victim.
All right, court will set bond at $2,500 as to count one, $500 as to count two, and $500 as to count three. No contact with the victim. Next case is Notorian Reed.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, we'd ask for a reasonable bond to be set so that Mr. Reed can go back to employment.
Ms. Tyner?
The state would be asking for $5,000 on the aggravated battery on a pregnant person and the $500 for resisting to remain, as well as the $1,000 for criminal mischief to be stayed.
Maybe I'm missing the criminal mischief. I only have a resisting and an aggravated. Oh, here it is. Okay. Court will set bond at $1,000 as to count one, $500 as to count two, the resisting, and $250 as to the criminal mischief. Defendant shall stay away from the victim as well as her premises or her residence. Count one was 1,000. Did I say that right? Okay. Count two is 500. And then count two was the resisting.
Yeah.
So I stated at 500, and then the criminal mischief I put at 250. All right. Next case is Lamel Smith.
Your Honor, his behavior.
Counsel?
Could we reset it for tomorrow?
Okay. Next case is Cynthia Mack.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, she does qualify for PTR. All we do is ask for a bond to be set.
And ma'am, if you could state your name, please.
My name is Nicole Gillens.
And Ms. Gillings, Is there anything you would like to ask the court to do today with regard to, while the charges are pending?
Basically, I don't want to press any charges against her, and I would like to see her released back home to her children. I do want her to get some help, though. She's gone through a lot recently, a lot of major life changes, and I just want her to get the help that she needs to get back to where she needs to be. And I do not want a no contact order. Like, she resides with me currently, so I don't want the children being uprooted or going, I just need them to have maintain a stable home base.
Anything from the state?
Your state would just be asking for no hostile contact, and it's indicated she does qualify for PTR.
She does qualify for PTR.
So a low bond in PTR is agreeable to the state.
All right,
Your Honor, she can qualify for straight PTR.
okay. All right, defendant will be released on PTR and no hostile contact with the victim.
Thank you for being here.
Right.
No problem.
Thank you very much. All right, next case is Tyler Marshall.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Marshall does qualify for PTR.
All right, defendant will be released on PTR.
Just sign.
I can't tell whether whether the defendant and the victim cohabitate.
They do cohabitate. I would just ask for no hostile contact.
Yes, Your Honor, the state would be asking for no contact. There were visible injuries on scene, and the victim did indicate that they would like to press charges. There's also 2 listed victims. Can defense let us know whether or not they both, they live at the same address, or they all live together? So we'd be asking for no contact.
All right,
Your Honor, Mr. Marshall does contribute to the rent for that location, so we would ask for no hostile contact.
all right, defendant will be released on PTR, bond of $500, no contact with the victims. Defendant can return one time with law enforcement to retrieve his belongings. Yes.
This is yours.
All right, next case is Hunter Modica.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Modica does qualify for PTR.
Straight PTR or PTR with bond?
I believe straight PTR.
As to conditions?
The state would be asking for no contact with the victim, no objection to PTR.
Your Honor, the victims are the defendant's parents. We would ask for no hostile contact.
All right, I'm gonna do direct PTR with no hostile contact.
No hostile contact, Your Honor?
No hostile contact, that's correct.
You can take it with you.
Next case is Christian Wright.
Your Honor, I had to pull this off the clerk's site. I just want to make sure for Mr. Wright, it's a warrant for battery domestic violence.
That's what I've got.
Okay, good.
Your Honor, he does qualify for PTR, however. I believe it's straight PTR. So we would just ask for no hostile contact.
All right, ma'am, can you tell me your name, please?
Keisha Service Giles.
And Ms. Giles, can you tell me what, is there anything you want to tell me as to what you would like to see happen while this case is pending?
Well, I explained to the state attorney as well as the advocate that I wasn't pressing charges. It was just a misunderstanding. Since then, we've been working on our relationship and we've been back together, so it's not, I'm not pressing any charges against them.
All right, and I know this sounds redundant, given what you've just said, but you feel, you feel safe with having
Yes.
contact with
Yes,
him,
yes,
correct?
100%, yes.
All right, defendant will be released on PTR, direct PTR, just no hostile contact. Those are stricken, yes. All right, next case is Ling Zai.
Your Honor, Mr. Zai does qualify for direct PTR. We do ask for a one-time return to the scene with law enforcement to get belongings.
All right, ma'am, can you tell me your name, please?
Yeah, Sarah Issa.
And can you tell me what you would like, is there anything you want to tell the court as to what, what you would like to see happen while this case is pending?
I mean, I don't want to press any charges or anything like that, so
I'm sorry, say that again?
I don't want to press any charges.
Okay, do you feel safe with having contact with the defendant?
Yeah, we're married and we live together, so
So you're okay with him coming home?
yeah.
Anything from the state?
State would just be asking for no hostile contact with the alleged victim.
Defendant will be released on direct PTR, no hostile contact with the victim.
Okay, and what does that mean?
That means that basically he can come home, he can have contact with you, but that contact is to be of the sort that, people are expected to, to have towards each other.
Okay.
That's all the DVs, right? Yes. All right, next case is Javier Cordero.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Cordero does qualify for PTR. I'm not sure if it's direct PTR or not.
No, it was updated. He doesn't qualify.
Okay, so at this time, we'd ask for a bond.
What's that? State?
Yes, Your Honor, I have that he is in on 7 charges and that he has bonds for all. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I printed this one as well, so I wanted to make sure. State would be asking that the bonds be stayed and the condition of no possession of firearms or ammunition be put in place. If it is redundant.
Your Honor, after looking at the bond amounts again, if you were to combine all of them, it'd be a significantly high amount for Mr. Cordero, we would just ask for some of them to be reduced.
All right, as to count one, the bond will be stayed at $5,000. As to count two, I'm going to reduce the bond to $750. As to count three, I'm going to reduce that to $100. As to count four, I believe that's at $15,000. I'm going to stay it there. As to count five, I will reduce that to $500. And then as to count six, that'll be reduced to $100. And count seven will also be reduced to $100. Now count four was already raised to 15,000. I think they have it as count five. Oh, I'm sorry, count four. So count four is at 7,500. Count five was raised to 15. I'll reduce count four then. And I can't remember what I did before. I reduced one of them to 500. Okay. That's fine. Count four will be reduced to 500. Count five will remain at 15, at 15,000. No possession of firearms. All right, next case is Heather Leary.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe Ms. Leary does qualify for PTR, and I believe her bonds have been posted.
Counsel? So if they've already been posted, I guess.
I'm not sure. That's what defendant is telling me.
All right, is that PTR without a bond?
She qualifies, but no, her bond has not yet been.
Okay. Is it direct PTR?
Yes.
All right, defendant will be released on direct PTR.
Any conditions?
No drugs or alcohol.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, next case is Adrian Matthias.
Present, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. The bond currently is set at $5,000. I believe we would just ask for it to be reduced.
State?
Yes, Your Honor, based on the affidavit, the statements made by the arresting officer in the affidavit, the individual, Adrian Matthias, refused to give any identifying information, and he did attempt to evade the police. I would be asking that the bond remain at $5,000 and that he have no contact with his co-defendant, Mr. Janarian Young.
I'm going to stay the bond at $5,000. The defendant shall have no contact with the co-defendant and shall not possess any weapons. Next case is Patrick Mendez.
Yes, sir.
As to bond counsel.
We would just ask for a reduction of bond.
want to provide any argument to that effect?
Your Honor, the state would be asking that the bond remain at $2,500, along with the capious conditions of no contact, maintain separate residences, no alcohol or drugs, no weapons or firearms, and no driving without a valid driver's license.
I don't think the residence thing is an issue, but
That's just what the capious had, so.
you want to give any further argument as to the reduction?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the bond is going to be stayed. The only condition, only condition is going to be no contact with the victim. All other conditions are vacated. All right, next case is Xavier Owens.
Your Honor, Mr. Owens bonded.
Next case is Christopher Shelton.
Present.
Your Honor, Mr. Shelton is employed at this time. We're asking for a bond to be set so he could return to work.
Yes, Your Honor, state would be asking for $7,500 on count 1 and $500 on count 2, and no contact with the victim.
All right, bond will be set at $7,500 as to count 1, $500 as to count 2, no contact with the victim, and no, and defendants not to possess any weapons or firearms.
Your Honor, what were those bond amounts again?
$7,500 as to count 1, $500 as to count 2.
Thank you.
The next case is Eugene St. Victor.
Your Honor, he bonded.
Next case is Jessica Tijerina.
Present.
One second, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we just ask for a reasonable amount bond be set. Ms. Tijerina can afford up to $1,000 bond.
The state has concerns of Ms. Tijerina's ability to appear. She failed to appear on a possession of controlled substance and drug paraphernalia. It does appear that she has some substance abuse issues. We would be asked that it remain at 0 until she can see the trial judge in this case.
Is she eligible for PTR?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Your Honor, she is employed at the moment, so we would just ask for her to be able to go back to work.
All right, I'm gonna set bond at $2,000 for count 1 and $2,000 for count 2. I am concerned about her ability to reappear, but I think that's an amount that will hurt enough if she doesn't. And if what's on this face sheet is to believe, it's, you know, the defendant is. What's that?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but I'm not gonna, I'm gonna stay the, I'm gonna grant bond as to the 2 FTAs. I'm gonna stay the bond as to the capious at no bond. So that's something that she's gonna have to address with the underlying judge. case is Thompson Venardo.
We don't have that.
That's the bond.
Fabian Williams.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor. Bond it.
Yes, Your Honor, we would just like to ask for a bond to be set. Mr. Williams is employed and he does have family in town.
I'm set bond at $2,000 on the failure to appear. I'm going to stay the bond on the KPS.
You're gonna leave it at a no bond, Your Honor? Right.
No bond, yeah,
And Your Honor, what was the first bond?
2,000.
Fabian Williams, he only has one case. That's the FTA.
Right, there's an FTA, but there's also a KPS, I think, on the,
That's the case.
on 2020.
That's the only case he had. It's a case.
Okay.
It's just-
All right, so this is, I'm going to stay that bond at no bond because the underlying KPS says it's not to be modified by the IA judge. All right, next case is Jacqueline Wing.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd like to ask for ROR. Ms. Wing will be entering a program next week for abuse problems.
She eligible for PTR?
No, Your Honor.
Counsel for the state?
State has no objection to a reduction in bond, but would object to ROR outright.
All right, I'm going to set bond at $500 as to count one, and I'll stay bond at $100 as to count two.
Your Honor, Alicia Young is a refusal.
We'll just keep those in place. Counsel, what do you want to do?
Could we reset it for tomorrow?
Young. This is also. All right, next case then is Janarian Young.
Your Honor, we're asking for a reduction in bond. Mr. Young is employed, and he just is trying to get back on his feet while the case is pending.
Is this a co-defendant case with the earlier
I believe so.
Mr. Matthias? For the state?
Yes, Your Honor, we would ask that bond be stayed at $3,500. Mr. Young has an out-of-state license from Mississippi, I believe, and is listed as transient. So I do have concerns about his reappearance.
Where did I set bond for the previous defendant?
That bond was $5,000.
I'm going to stay the bond at $3,500. No possession of firearms.
And will you be imposing no contact with the co-defendant as well?
And no contact with the co-defendant. All right, next case is Nancy Torres.
Yes, Your Honor, we just be asking for a reasonable bond to be set.
All right, bond is going to be stayed at no bond. The warrant asks for that not to be modified by the IA judge, so the presiding judge wants to see her.
What does this mean, that I have to stay here?
Means you have to take it up with the other judge. All right, next case is Christopher Petit Frere.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, in this case, we're asking, I believe the VOP has no bond. We're just asking for a bond to be set.
Counsel for the state.
Yes, Your Honor, that VOP is out of county, and we would be asking for it to remain at no bond. Yeah.
That's the other one. All right, this is there's also driving with license suspended. I'm gonna set bond at $500 for the driving with license suspended. There will be no bond for the out-of-county warrant.
Palm Beach County.
All right, Corey Adams.
Your Honor, bond is currently set at 500. We just ask for it to be reduced so he can go back to employment.
Bond will be stayed at $500, no contact with or no return to the place of the offense. Next case is Rafael Baez.
Your Honor, at this time, we just ask for bond to be reduced. Mr. Baez is unemployed, so $500 may be difficult for him.
All right, the bond will be stayed at $500, no return to the place of the incident. All right, next case is Sean Brown.
Your Honor, the state has no objection to ROR in both charges. Mr. Brown should be eligible for our pretrial diversion program for the resisting, and the possession of cannabis is likely to be dropped.
So you don't have any objection to that?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, defendant will be released on his own recognizance.
Out of trouble, please.
Your Honor, Figueroa is a refusal.
Counsel, what would you like to do?
Your Honor, we'd like to reset this for tomorrow.
All right. Next case is Isabella Hudson.
Present.
Yes, Your Honor, we'd like to ask for a reduction in bond.
Is she eligible for PTR?
For Hudson? No, Your Honor.
All right, bond will be reduced as to count one to $200. Bond will be reduced on count two to $100. And, stay away from Best Buy. All right, next case is David Lamb.
Your Honor, Mr. Lamb is unemployed. We'd like to ask for PTR in this case.
Is he eligible?
Could we ask for the bond to be reduced in that case then?
Bond will be stayed at $500. And stay away, condition is to stay away from the place of the incident. All right, next case is Benjamin Maxwell.
Your Honor, at this point, we don't really need anything for the bond to be done.
All right, bond will be stayed at $500, and it should stay away from Disney. Next case is Anthony Simpson.
Your Honor, we'd like to ask for the bond to be reduced. Mr. Simpson is unemployed, but he does have ties to the community.
Tell me a little bit about those.
His family is here, his children are here.
Counsel for the state.
Your Honor, we'll leave it at the discretion of the court. We would just be requesting that a no return be issued and a no contact with the victim.
I'm going to stay the bond at $500. No return to the place of the incident, no contact with the victim. particular concern is a previous conviction for escape. Next case is Deja Smith.
1 second, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, we'd like to ask for the bond to be reduced. Ms. Smith does have a child that she currently takes care of.
State?
The state would object. This incident occurred very early in the morning, and the bond, as listed, is similar to that of her co-defendants.
And if I release her on bond, is she, you know, if she gets out on bond, is she going back to California?
Your Honor, she does not currently reside in Florida full-time.
The bond is at 1,000, right now?
Yes, Your Honor.
The bond will be reduced to $500. And stay away from the location of the offense. Next case is James Williams.
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, we'd like to ask for ROR. Mr. Williams, his only form of income is Social Security disability.
All right, I'm going to reduce the bond to, counsel, did you want to?
No.
I'm going to reduce the bond to $100. The defendant is to stay away from the Arbors apartment complex. All right, next case is Christopher Wilson.
1 second, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the state will extend an offer of credit time served for this charge and ask that Mr. Wilson please find a bathroom next time.
Defense?
Mr. Wilson will be accepting the offer, Your Honor. Madam Clerk, may I get the case number?
2023 MO 275 AO.
Thank you. Your Honor, Mr. Wilson will be entering a plea of no contest and accepting the state's offer of credit time served.
Mr. Wilson, you understand what's happening?
Yes, sir.
court will accept the plea and sentence the defendant to time served. Next case is Contravious Gerard.
Yes, Your Honor, I believe he has an out-of-county warrant, so no action on our end.
The defendant will be held over on the out-of-county warrant. There's no bond on the others. Yeah. Those are stayed. All right, Livon Matos Lescano.
Yes, Your Honor, this is also an out-of-county warrant, so no action on our end.
That bond will be stayed. Next case is Luis Jimenez Soto.
Yes, Your Honor, in this case, Mr. Jimenez Soto does have multiple charges, so we're just asking for a reasonable amount in each.
Your Honor, never mind. Sorry, false alarm.
Well, I've got one case that is an aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer with a firearm. And I have a second case that is attempted first-degree murder with firearm, 7 counts. Ms. Tyner, anything to add as to bond?
The attempted first-degree murder charges, the state would be asking that those remain at 0. And then as for the aggravated assault with a firearm, that's also set at none, and the state would be asking that remain at none.
The court will stay the bonds at no bond. On- There's a count 8 and a count 9?
Yeah, they're all set at none.
Yeah, they're all set at no bond right now, and I'll stay them.
Your Honor, Naomi Sanchez is mental health.
Ms. Comp? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Ms. Compo, would you?
For Ms. Naomi, could we reset this for tomorrow?
Okay.
We also have Singleton as mental health.
Ms. Comp?
Reset for tomorrow.
Nicole Christ is a refusal.
Okay. Ms. Comp?
Reset for tomorrow.
I think that
No.
concludes the docket, does it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
work. We got through a lot today. Are we all coming back tomorrow, or is?
I'll be here.
Florida.
All right. Good morning. All right. Do we have the, oh, there, okay. All right, ma'am, you've been charged with one count of battery on a person 65 years or older, the felony of the third degree. We on? Okay.
Yes, okay.
Felony of the third degree. Mr. Ladon, would you like to be heard as to probable cause?
Your Honor, I haven't had the benefit of seeing the PC affidavit. I know that there was a warrant that was executed on her for her arrest, so I believe that was probably reviewed by a judge in Osceola County and executed by the...
You're right. There was a previous determination of probable cause as to bond?
Your Honor, she's employed locally in Osceola County as a resident of Osceola County, has no history to my knowledge of any kind, so we'd ask that if she's eligible, that she be released on her own recognizance, pretrial release. If not, that we have a bond of $1,000 with whatever conditions the court feels is necessary and appropriate.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What was that?
For the state?
Yes, Your Honor. Can the PTR in Osceola inform the court whether or not this defendant qualifies for PTR?
Yes, she qualified for a bond with PTR.
Okay.
That's PTR with a bond, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, the state's just asking for a reasonable bond and the conditions set forth in the warrant.
All right. Defendant will be released to pretrial release, $500 bond, and no contact with the victim. All right, anything else before I need to address before we adjourn?
Yes, Your Honor. The teletype just also had no return to the residence as well as no weapons or firearms.
Those will be included in the bond order as well.
Okay, I'll have to probably file a motion to modify because I believe it's her residence.
It's her residence?
I believe it's my client's residence, yeah, so.
The state has no objection to separate residence.
I'm sorry?
The state has no objection to a modification to separate residences, and then that way, once the victim's out of the home, she can return.
Okay. All right. The bail will be, or the bond condition will be that they are to. Yeah. Now we're creating a major issue. All right. I'm not going to make that a condition of the bond because otherwise I'm inviting violation of the bond. So it will be pretrial release, $500 bond.
So that will be the extent of it then, Your Honor?
Yes.
So she is permitted to return to her residence?
She's permitted to return to the residence.
Thank you, Judge.
Right. Thank
That's
you.
all I have before the court may be excused?
Yes, we're
Thank you,
adjourned
Your
and you're excused. Have a good day.
You as well, Judge. Thank you.
Delete, no return
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah.
We're at private. You're always so sweet. Have a good weekend. See you later.
All right. Next case is Isabel Bobin. Counsel, can I have your appearances, please? Oh, okay. Next case is Corey Bond. Counsel, can I have your appearances, please?
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Tyner for the state of Florida.
Okay, and I'm sorry, counsel for the defense, could you state your last name again? I didn't catch it.
Yes, Your Honor. Rachel Anderson on behalf of Mr. Corey Bond from the prosecutor's office.
All right, thank you. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and appoint the public defender's office. To the extent, Ms. Anderson, that you have a good faith challenge to probable cause, I'll just ask you to go ahead and bring that up as we go. Here we've just got a violation of community control. Would you like to be heard as to bond? All right, the defendant will continue to be held pending further proceedings in this case. All right, next case is Asja Buford.
She's president approaching.
All right, Ms. Buford, you've been charged with engaging or offering prostitution misdemeanor of the second degree. I do find probable cause for the offense. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe she qualifies for pretrial release, so we ask for that at this time. PTR is here and can confirm.
She qualified, Ms. Officer Jenkins, PTR, she qualified for direct PTR.
All right, she'll be released to direct PTR. Ms. Tyner, to the extent you want to be heard, just pipe up.
I don't object to PTR. Thank you.
All right, next case, and we're adjourned on that case, and you're excused. Next case is Luis Sereno Perea.
He's president approaching, Your Honor.
Public defender is appointed. Court finds probable cause. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Defense is requesting that Mr. Sereno be released on ROR, if possible. If not, the alternative, I would request a release below bond. In addition, Mr. Sereno did advise counsel that he lives with the alleged victim and they share children. He has belongings there. So the court would enter a non-hostile contact order as to
State.
Yes, Your Honor. Based off of the warrant, we would be asking that he be required not to return to the transient camp in the area around 455 West Earl Bronson, as well as not possess any weapons, and no contact with the victim, and just a reasonable bond, Your Honor.
All right. We'll set bond at. I'll reduce the. Well, I'll set bond at. As to count one, that's the domestic battery by strangulation. Bond will be set at $1,000. As to count two, the battery, bond will be set at $100. No contact with the victim and no return to that particular transient camp.
Your Honor, follow one-time return with a law enforcement escort to retrieve personal belongings.
Yes.
He's also out on 22 CF 3391, grand theft Osceola case.
CF 33. I'm sorry, what?
91.
3391?
Yes, 22 CF 3391.
I don't have that, do you?
No, you don't have it on here. You don't put like on that information sheet.
He's out on bond on that case.
All right, I understand. Okay, I'm going to take no action as to the other case. All right, we're adjourned on that case. The next case is Juan Corbello.
He's the president approaching, Your Honor. Defense would like to be heard as to probable cause.
All right.
And conditions of release.
All right. Go ahead, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, well, actually, the court appoints the public defender to represent the defendant. All right, go ahead, Ms. Anderson.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Corbello was charged with battery. Under the statute requires harmful or offensive contact against the victim's will. And reading through the affidavit, Mr. Corbello stated that he did shove the alleged victim away from his vehicle as he was attempting to handle wires or things, but that it never turned physical. The alleged victim also corroborated that statement and told law enforcement that things never got physical between them. The only allegation of harmful physical contact comes from a third party who doesn't know the defendant or the alleged victim. It was almost midnight, Your Honor. This witness was observing through the window of a house. The affidavit doesn't indicate how close he was to the alleged incident. And since he doesn't know the defendant or the alleged victim, it'd be difficult to say what type of interaction is going on. This is how they engage. All in all, given what's in the police report, Your Honor, the facts are insufficient for probable cause for the charged offense.
All right, for the purposes of this stage, the court does find probable cause that finds that the affidavit establishes such. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Corbello advised that he lives at the residence where the alleged victim is. He does have belongings there. He would request no hostile contact at this time, or in the alternative, a one-time escort with law enforcement to retrieve personal belongings.
State?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is requesting no contact. We do not have an objection to a one-time return.
And he's not eligible for PTR, correct?
He's eligible for bond with PTR, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
He's eligible for bond with PTR.
All right, court will set bond at $500, release on pretrial release. There's to be no contact. There's to be no hostile contact with the victim. All right, next case is Isaiah Davis. The court will appoint the public defender. Mr. Davis, you're here on a violation of probation on an underlying willful child abuse charge. Is there anything for the court to address, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the defendant will continue to be held on that charge, and we're adjourned on that case. All right, next case is Jesus Casillas Torres.
It's a matter for the Spanish court, and defense will waive formal reading of the charges.
Did you hit the, on that, hit the article or plus?
Add?
Yes. Interpreter?
Hello, Cisco Unity Connection Messaging System. From a touch-tone telephone, you may dial an extension at any time. For a directory of extensions, press 4. Otherwise, please hold to leave a general message.
No, if I ended,
Sorry, there is no operator available at this hour. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound.
You want to set them aside?
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and take the next case until we can get the interpreter on. All right, next case is Lee DeFore. All right, going ahead. We have two cases. I want to point the public defender as to both. Find probable cause as to the counts on fleeing, eluding, and driving without a license driving with a license suspended. I also find probable cause as to the possession of controlled substances, all 3 counts on that complaint. Would you like to be heard as to bond? I'm not.
Defense will be requesting PTR at this time. He does qualify for direct pretrial release.
For the state, all right, he'll be, defendant will be released on direct pretrial release. All right, next case is Antonio God. All right, court finds probable cause as to this complaint. I'll appoint the public defender. Defendant is also eligible for pretrial release. Anybody have any opposition to that? All right, the defendant will be released on PTR, and that'll conclude that matter. All right, next case is Alejandro Gonzalez. I'm going to appoint the public defender.
Your Honor, Mr. Gonzalez indicated that he has private counsel.
Okay. Is private counsel here? Forum? All right. Anybody here for Alejandro Gonzalez? All right, well, I can, reset it, or I can appoint the public defender's office for the purposes of this particular hearing.
Mr. Gonzalez is requesting a provisional appointment of the public defender, Your Honor.
All right, the public defender is appointed. All right, we've got a underlying warrant. Probable cause has already been determined. It's a violation of community control. Counsel, is he eligible for me to entertain bond at this point? Or does he need to go back in front of Judge Epperson?
Defense will defer to the court's discretion, Your Honor.
The court will stay the bond. Defendant will need to file with the trial judge presiding as to bond. All right, next case is Juan Hanayo Camargo.
That's a matter for the Spanish interpreter, Your Honor.
Okay. Do we have the Spanish interpreter now? Okay, let's try this again.
Your Honor, this is Ricardo Morales, Spanish interpreter. I have not been sworn in yet.
All right, Madam Clerk, please place the interpreter under oath.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to translate from Spanish to English, for English and Spanish to the testimony given today?
Yes, I do. Ricardo Morales, Spanish interpreter.
Thank you.
All right. All right, the court will appoint the public defender's office. I do find a probable cause for the complaint. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Bien, se ha asignado a la Oficina de Defensores Públicos para representación. Determinamos que hay causa probable para la queja sometida. ¿Quiere pronunciarse en cuanto a la fianza?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hanau is currently employed. Defense will request a low bond at this time so he can return to employment.
Sí, señoría, en este momento el señor Genao cuenta con empleo, así que pedimos una fianza baja para que pueda regresar a su empleo.
All right, the court will reduce the bond to $250, and I'll take no action as to the other case.
Bien, en este momento el tribunal va a rebajar la fianza a un total de $250 y no tomaremos acción alguna en cuanto al otro caso.
All right, let's go ahead and go back to Jesus Casillas Torres.
Your Honor, may the interpreter ask for this defendant's case number?
Well, Osceola, we don't have any case numbers.
We don't have case numbers for the Osceola cases.
Okay, Your Honor.
All right.
Rachel Anderson on behalf of the defendant, Your Honor, we will waive formal reading of the charges.
All right, court finds probable cause. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Bien, señoría, en este momento queremos hacer una renuncia en cuanto a la lectura formal de cargos. Este tribunal determina causa probable. ¿Desea pronunciarse en cuanto a la fianza? La defensa pide una fianza baja que el tribunal pueda conceder.
Yes, Your Honor. The state's just asking for no contact, separate residences, no weapons or firearms, as well as no contact with any minors, and a reasonable bond.
Sí, señoría, pedimos que no haya contacto con las presuntas víctimas, que no haya ninguna posesión de armas o armas de fuego, que no tenga ningún tipo de contacto con menores y una fianza baja.
Now, Ms. Tyner, this appears to be a capital sex battery. Is he eligible for a bond at this time?
I don't believe he is on the first two charges, but he is eligible for a bond, and I believe bond does have to be set for the felony charges.
Me parece que esto es un caso de agresión sexual. ¿Usted entiende que hay una razón para poner fianza en este caso? Sí, señoría, en este caso debe fijarse una fianza para el caso de delito.
Right. Defendant will be held without bond as to counts 1 and 2.
Bien, el acusado será detenido sin fianza por las acusaciones 1 y 2.
Court will set a $5,000 bond as to count 3.
Se fijará una fianza de $5,000 por la acusación número 3.
A $2,500 bond as to count 4.
$2,500 por la acusación número 4.
And I'll stay the bond as to count 5.
Y la fianza permanecerá tal cual por la acusación número 5.
And as condition of bond, the defendant shall stay away from the victim.
Y como condición de esta fianza, el acusado deberá permanecer distante de la presunta víctima.
Do we have any other interpreter cases?
Yes, Your Honor, we have 2 more.
Let's go ahead and take those while I've got the interpreter on.
Yes, Your Honor. The first one is Mr. Jonathan Machado Vasquez.
Okay. All right. Court will appoint the public defender. I find probable cause as to both counts. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Bien, se ha asignado la Oficina de Defensores Públicos para que represente al acusado. Determino que hay suficiente causa probable. ¿Quiere usted pronunciarse en cuanto a la fianza?
Yes, Your Honor. Pretrial release has confirmed that the defendant qualifies for direct PTR, so defense will request that at this time.
Señoría, se ha determinado que hay libertad provisional. Se ha confirmado esto con el programa de libertad condicional, así que pedimos que se conceda libertad provisional en este caso.
All right. Defendant shall be released to PTR.
Bien, el acusado será puesto en libertad bajo libertad provisional.
And we have another interpreter case.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Rafael Solis Ayala.
All right. This is a warrant arrest. The court will appoint the public defender. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Bien, esto se trata de... My apologies, counsel.
My apologies. Go ahead.
Este es un caso de una orden de detención para el arresto. Designaremos a la Oficina de Defensores Públicos para que represente en este caso. ¿Quiere usted pronunciarse en cuanto a la fianza?
I believe this is a new law violation, not a warrant, and the defendant does qualify for direct pretrial release, so defense would ask for that at this time.
Me parece que esto es un incumplimiento de una nueva ley, su señoría, y no una orden de arresto. Hemos determinado que cualifica para libertad provisional, así que el acusado pedirá libertad provisional en este momento.
Defendant will be released to pretrial release.
El acusado será puesto en libertad bajo libertad provisional.
And also, the conditions is also to, also as a condition is to stay away from the premises of the original trespass.
Y como condición de su libertad, usted deberá permanecer alejado de la persona que sometió la
Hold on. I got the wrong person here. Oh, okay. All right, no conditions.
No hay condiciones.
All right, sure where this is from. All right, next case is Cassandra Johnson.
Your Honor, may the interpreter be released at this point?
Yes.
Your Honor, excuse me. The defendant, Rodriguez Robinson for Osceola County, the victim is here and she needs Spanish interpretation.
Okay. Did we already do that one?
Rodriguez.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take care of that one then. It is Robinson Rodriguez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and appoint the public defender to represent the defendant.
Bien, voy a designar a la Oficina de Defensores Públicos para que represente al acusado.
Court finds probable cause as to the complaint.
Se determina causa probable en cuanto a la queja.
Counsel, would you like to be heard as to bond?
¿Quiere usted pronunciarse en cuanto a la fianza, abogada?
Your Honor, pretrial release has indicated that Mr. Rodriguez does qualify for PTR with a bond. Defense would ask for pretrial release with a low bond at this time.
Sí, señoría, se ha determinado que el acusado cualifica para libertad provisional conjunto con una fianza, así que pedimos en este momento la libertad provisional junto a una fianza baja.
I'll hear from the state and then from the state.
Yes, Your Honor. May we briefly inquire with the victim?
You may.
Fiscalía.
I mean, you want me to ask the victim before I come to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, ma'am, could you state your name, please?
Señora, ¿podría indicar su nombre despacio en voz alta?
Mariela Merced.
Mariela Merced.
And ma'am, can you tell me whether or not, there are any conditions or anything that you want the court to do with regard to the Mr. Rodriguez while this case is pending?
Señora, ¿usted quiere que se imponga alguna condición o que se haga algo a través de este tribunal en cuanto a el señor Rodríguez mientras el caso continúa vigente?
Sí, este caso ya se ha visto otras veces por violencia y realmente yo y mi hija tememos por nuestras vidas. No es la primera vez que él es violento y esta vez fue demasiado fuerte en mi casa y él me agredió, casi me sofoca.
Go ahead, Mr. Interpreter.
Yes, this is a case that has been seen other times due to violence, and me and my daughter are in fear for our lives. This is not the first time that this has happened, and this time around, it was particularly dangerous, and he battered me. And
Okay, please continue, ma'am.
continúe.
Sí, y esta vez fue en mi casa con mi niña y yo fui a una orden de protección para que esto se evitara y me la denegaron.
And this time it was in my house with my child in it. And I had requested an injunction to prevent this from happening, but it was not granted.
All right, well, Ms. Tyner, anything you want to add?
No, Your Honor, the state's just requesting no contact.
All right, the defendant will be released on PTR with a $500 bond, no contact with the victim, and I'll allow a one-time return to the residence with law enforcement to gather any belongings.
Bien, en este momento se concede la libertad bajo libertad provisional junto con una fianza de $500. Como condición, no puede haber ningún tipo de contacto con la víctima en este caso y se le concede el regreso en una sola ocasión acompañado por la policía para recoger sus pertenencias.
Yes, ma'am.
Él no vive conmigo. Él fue a mi casa, a donde yo resido con la niña. Él no vive conmigo.
He doesn't live at my house. He just came to my house where I live with my daughter, but he doesn't live in my house.
Ms. Anderson?
They're bringing them on now.
Thank you.
The ladies. Your Honor, we have nothing else. So the ladies are here.
No más que añadir.
All right, no return to the residence then. No need for a one-time visit.
Bien, entonces no puede regresar a la residencia y no hace falta el regreso en una sola ocasión acompañado por la policía.
All right.
Yo tengo custodia compartida con la niña. Él no puede acercarse a la niña tampoco. Él agredió a la niña.
We have joint custody. He cannot approach my girl, and he cannot have contact with my girl, and he battered the girl too.
Your Honor, defense would argue that that's irrelevant at this time. There's no objection to the no contact with the alleged victim, but the daughter is not a victim in this case, Your Honor. There is a custody arrangement, so defense would just ask that the court would maintain the separate residence requirement and no contact with the alleged victim.
It'll be no contact with the victim. Anything with regard to your daughter, you're going to have to take up with your family law judge.
Hay una orden ya en el tribunal ya desde el martes pasado y también DCF ya tiene carta en el asunto. Y cuando la niña dio el statement...
Hold on. Mr. Interpreter, can you interpret what I told the victim?
Yes, Your Honor.
First? Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. No hay objeción en cuanto a que no haya contacto con la víctima, pero la hija no es víctima en este caso, por lo que arguimos que esto es irrelevante en este momento y que se mantengan residencias separadas. Señora, no habrá contacto con la víctima en este caso y cualquier otro asunto relacionado con su hija deberá ser atendido en el foro correspondiente.
All right, You can continue, ma'am.
Sí, cuando la policía fue a la casa ayer, le dieron el statement a la niña y la niña dijo que tenía miedo por su vida. Ellos hicieron el statement y yo fui a la corte desde el martes y hay una orden que ya se empezó sobre esto. Esto es un caso de droga. La niña me testificó el lunes que él está haciendo transacciones de droga con la niña en el vehículo. Ya el caso está abierto y está en investigación. Por eso fue que la niña no quiere ir con él, con miedo de que él le haga algo por ella haber hablado.
There's an order since last Tuesday that I filed, and the DCF is also involved. When the cops went yesterday to take a statement from my daughter, my daughter said that she was in fear for her life. There's a court order about all this. This is an old case. It's a case about drugs, and my daughter has stated that that this guy has been making drug transactions with her at the vehicle.
All right, those are not the issues that are before the court today for the purposes of this proceeding, so we'll be adjourned.
Estos no son los asuntos que se están tratando en este momento en el tribunal para este caso. En este momento descansamos.
All right, next case is Cassandra Johnson. And I think that's the last one for the interpreter for now. So, Mr. Interpreter, you can go ahead and log off until we get to the Orange County cases.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Nope. Court will appoint the public defender. Go ahead, Ms. Anderson.
Ms. Johnson was charged with battery under Florida Statute 784.03, subsection 181. The statute requires that there was an intentional cause of bodily harm to the alleged victim. The facts indicate that there was a verbal argument between the victim and her daughter. Her daughter walked up on her. She felt threatened. So she pushed her daughter to protect herself. The alleged victim, who's her daughter, provided a similar statement to law enforcement. So defense would argue that the alleged victim was the primary aggressor in this case, Your Honor, looking at the facts. And as such, there's insufficient probable cause for the offense charge. So defense would be requesting ROR at this time.
For the state?
Yes, Your Honor. It's the state's position that probable cause is found within the four corners of the affidavit. I understand that there may be a defense to the battery, but based off of the statements made by the victim at the scene, the state has no objection to releasing the victim ROR.
The court finds probable cause to the extent there is an affirmative defense. That's not for the court to determine at today's hearing. I'll release the defendant on her own recognizance. Are you asking for any no contact orders or anything like that?
Just no hostile contact.
All right. On her own recognizance, no hostile contact. Next case is Jesus Joseph. I'm going to appoint the public defender. Morning. All right, we have a violation of probation. Would you like to be heard at all as to bond?
Our defense would just ask that you would set a bond in this case.
Okay. State?
State's requesting, per the information given on the teletype, that the bond remain at none and conditions. It says not to be modified, but it doesn't list the condition. So we just ask that it remains at 0.
All right, I'm gonna hold the bond at zero at no bond, and defendant will need to petition the presiding judge with regard to bond. All right, next case is Miguel Laboy. I'm going to appoint the public defender. All right, court finds probable cause. Would you like to be heard as to bond? Court will set bond at $7,500. $750. Pretrial release, stay away from the victim, one-time return with law enforcement. Okay, it'll be a $750 straight bond then. Thank you. All right, next case is Raul Leon.
For the record, Attorney J. Ruth Maff of Raul Leon. There was a little bit of an issue with security getting me in the courtroom. I hope this is okay, Judge.
All right, good morning, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name, Counsel.
Ruth.
All right, we're here on violation of pretrial release conditions. There's a previous warrant, I believe, that's already been, probable cause has already been determined. As to bond?
Just ask for a standard bond, Judge, $5,000.
All right, I'll set bond at $5,000. Stay away from the victim in the underlying case.
Is that on the, so is there's an aggravated stalking and a violation of pretrial release? Is that what?
There is a violation of pretrial release as to the domestic violence and a violation of court orders as to the stalking, I believe is how it reads. I have very little information about it.
I didn't see anything either, so it appeared like two. Go ahead, State.
Yes, it's two separate charges, and Your Honor, is that $5,000 on each charge or $5,000 total?
It'll be $5,000 on the felony. I'm going to, I'll make it $4,900 as to the felony and $100 as to the misdemeanor.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good day.
Thank you. Last name is Ruth.
J. Ruth is his name. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
You're good. We just were clarifying your name.
Okay, thank you.
And for the record, state objects to putting defense in the box.
Defense is all for it.
All right. Next case is Tisom Martinez.
Some situation.
It was stay away from the victims. All right. Court will appoint the public defender in this case. Counsel, would you like to be heard as to any of the as to probable cause?
No, Your Honor.
All right. As to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Defense would just ask for a low bond at this time.
Ms. Tyner?
Yes, Your Honor. State's asking for a reasonable bond and the condition of no weapons, no contact with the victim.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I suppose it really turns on how we're defining weapon at this point.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the court will. The court will set bond at $500.
It's been a lot less than I was here when I worked for the state.
Since the state is asking for no contact, defense would ask for no hostile contact. The alleged victim is the daughter of the defendant.
$500, no hostile contact. I'm not gonna do the weapons condition because frankly that's not really I don't think that would really solve the underlying issue presented by the facts in this particular case. So, all right, we're adjourned on as to that case. All right, next case is Larry Patterson. Court will appoint the public defender. It's a violation of probation as to community control. As to bond?
I'm not on community control. Defense would just ask for a low bond amount at this time, Your Honor.
State?
The bond currently for Mr. Patterson is $2,500. State's asking that remains.
I have it as 0.
Is this Larry Patterson?
Yes.
Charges, judges.
There's two. Okay, hold on. It's $2,500 as to the, okay, I was looking at the probation violation. I find, as to the driving with license suspended, I find probable cause. As to bond on that, counsel? Ms. I think you'd asked for a low bond. I was going to go ahead and ask Ms. Tyner then for her input.
Yes, I would just ask that the bond be stayed at 2,500.
All right, the court will stay the bond at $2,500. On the VOP, the defendant will remain on no bond. All right, next case is Jorge Salinas Sanchez. Court will appoint the public defender. The defendant is eligible for direct PTR, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Defendant will be released on PTR. All right. Next case is Alan Smith.
So this one here, let me pull them out. This was attached to this person. We pull out Sanchez. Sorry, but we just did that one. So. I'm sorry, Judge.
All right. Court will appoint the public defender with a failure to. Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Smith indicated that he has private counsel.
All right. Well, Mr. Smith, would you like me to reset this hearing for your private counsel to be here, or do you want me to appoint the public defender for purposes of today?
He wants to go with the latter option, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll go ahead and conditionally appoint the public defender where looks to be a warrant for failure to appear. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. That Your Honor would set a bond. Zero right now.
State?
Your Honor, is this an out-of-county warrant? I'm so confused.
It looks like an Osceola warrant. Gonzalez.
Okay. The state will defer to the bench on whether or not bond is set.
All right. The defendant will continue to be held on no bond. You'll need to file a motion in front of Judge Gonzalez. All right. I'm going to need to take a minute. I have to address an emergency matter that's arisen. I'm going to stay on the bench.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry. What's your name?
The same transaction. He's already on the end. Yes, look. So he's already out of the end and he's involved, like he's stuck. No. Makes sense. Seems fair to me.
All right, thank you. All right, next case is Tiandre Rogers. Court will appoint the public defender. Would you like to be heard as to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant currently has zero bond. Defense would just request that you would set bond, Your Honor.
Counsel, for the state?
The state will defer to the bench.
Right, court will set bond at $750. All right, next case is Tanya Ruby.
Your Honor, she refused. Can we get a 24-hour reset for tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am. All right, next case is Rafael Galarza. Court will appoint public defender. I believe the warrant clause has already been determined as to bond.
Defense would just request a bond, Your Honor.
State?
Yes, Your Honor. This individual has pending charges throughout the state of Florida for similar instances of burglary and grand theft of firearms. The state, as well as law enforcement, are requesting an increase in the bonds, and that he be required not to possess any firearms or ammunition.
Right. The court will stay the bonds as they are. That's no bond as to count 1, and then $5,000 as to count 2, and $1,000 as to count 3. The defendant also, as a condition, shall not possess any firearms.
It also had a condition of return to the scene and no contact with the victim. Also part of
All right. I'll also do no contact with the victim, no return to the scene, and no contact with co-defendants. All right. Next case is Ralph Quince. Yes. All right, next case is Martin Sanchez.
He's in the cage, Your Honor. President
All right, court will appoint the public defender.
Is this Martin Sanchez?
Yes. This appears to be a co-defendant.
Yes, Your Honor.
As to bond counsel?
Defense would ask that you reduce bond, Your Honor.
The state?
State has the same request as the co-defendant. State requests that the bonds be maintained and the same conditions of release be applied.
All right, court will stay the bonds as they are, and with the conditions of no return to the premises, no contact with the victim, and no contact with co-defendants, and no possession of firearms.
It's not open. Not yet.
All right, next case is Matthew Singh. All right, I'll appoint the public defender as to bond.
Yes, Your Honor. Defense would ask that you set bond in this case.
State, it appears to be an out-of-county warrant of some sort. I don't have much on it.
Yes, Your Honor. The warrant's out of Orange County, and the state would be asking that he remain at 0 until he can see the trial judge for this charge.
All right, court will stay the bond at 0, pending motion to the presiding judge. All right, next case is Derek Thompson. All right, court will appoint the public defender. I find probable cause for the charges as to bond. All right, court will reduce the bond to $500. All right, next case is Michael DeSellis.
Your Honor, he refused again. Defense will waive his appearance at this point and request that you set bond.
All right, the court finds probable cause. As to bond.
Defense would just ask for ROR at this time. Mr. DeSellis does have some mental health issues based on prior cases. So defense would ask for ROR and the alternative of a low bond, Your Honor.
Okay, counsel for the state.
Yes, Your Honor. State understands that there may be mental health concerns, but based off the accusations of the affidavit, we'd be asking that bond be stayed at $2,500.
All right, I'm going to stay the bond at $2,500. It does appear there may be some mental health issues, but turning them back out onto the street is not going to immediately remedy that. So, all right, and these are okay.